We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
And welcome back to another episode of the California Golden Bearcast, a partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. It is game week. The season is here. September 3rd, Cal kicks off against UC-Davis. We're recording this on a Monday night, only a mere days away. Of course, Andy is always here. Talking his name on the pod too on our recording thing is Mr. Optimistic, so you can tell his predictions today are going to be pretty positive. Is that a fair assumption, Mr. Johnson?
It is. Cal football is on Saturday, so optimism is in the air, only to be quickly dismantled. But right now it's high, and I would say I have a nice little blend mixed up. A little blender. So don't get too confident in my optimism. Ooh. I might have some that'll surprise you.
Ooh, fancy.
But yeah, most of them are pretty optimistic.
Well, of course, we always do these predictions podcasts with a guest. And, of course, we have our dear friend, writer for Cal Rivals, Mr. Jesse Stewart. Jesse, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Maybe not quite as optimistic, but I'm here. It's Monday. We're working through it.
Yeah, I'm just laughing just because there's so much shenanigans that goes on before we start recording. But anyways, let's get it started, guys. I asked you for 6 predictions, hot takes, whatever it may be on the season. We're gonna go through it round by round, and then we also have some from listeners via Twitter. So I'll add those in intermittently, and then we'll react, of course, to each other's as we say it. So let's get started. Mr. Optimism, give me your first one.
I'm going first?
Do you not want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, this is the easiest one, and it's not even, fun, I don't think. But I am going to say it anyways. We will go into South Bend, and we will win, and we will celebrate, and we will celebrate on the bus back, probably asleep. But every single Cal fan that goes to that game will be treated to a Cal win. You heard it here last.
God, the flack we're going to get for this.
I'm sending this straight to my Notre Dame affiliates.
Right on the back of the Brett Johnson news. Boom!
So we're gonna walk into South Bend and beat probably still a top 10 ranked team, regardless of what happens in week 1, right? I would think. No, you think they drop out of the top 10 if they lose to Ohio State?
No, yeah. I don't think they drop out. I think they got to keep that one high. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah, I think by the time they face us, they'll still be in the top 10. So Andy's saying we're gonna start off the year pretty much with a top 10 victory. Goodness gracious.
Dang.
Mr.
Optimism coming in hot, dude.
Oh my God, just straight off. Wow. Okay. I'll interject here with one from our listeners. We got that's kind of similar. We got one from our dear friend Sid, Andy.
Sid
sends it
MVP.
in.
Love it.
Cal beats Oregon by a touchdown in double overtime by getting a defensive stop. I need Cal to win this game. I don't mind how, LOL. But it would be cool to do it in overtime. I think it would be a battle and will depend on Cal getting big offensive plays.
For those that don't know, Sid went to Oregon, rocked and repped Cal the entire time, and that's why she needs this one. So let's give it to her. And who was it? Some ESPN reporter said the same thing. It was like the one upset of the year in the Pac-12 was Cal beating Oregon. It's not even an upset. We win 50% of the time against them. Like, I'm expecting to win that game. I'm like, upset? What do you mean? We trade wins every other year these days. So, yeah, don't mind me in my optimism corner. But I really like Sid's breakdown of the double OT because I probably won't survive that if that's the case. I think at least in the first overtime, anxiety takes over, and I probably am just like on the ground and seeing stars. So it'll be fun for everybody else.
I mean, that did happen a few years back. Remember Jordan Kanasic's interception in Justin Herbert's first visit to Berkeley? Stop.
Oh, you mean when we had no defense? The worst win I've ever been a part of. I felt miserable.
Dude,
it was the worst Oregon team. Sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
God. I was just that's gonna be it's gonna be a 7 p.m. kickoff, so a double OT will actually kill me. And it's gonna be when do they play? October or something?
Yes.
October 29th, 7 p.m. kickoff is gonna be awesome. Going into double OT.
Andy, what was the
You're
latest
gonna be up till
game
2 a.m.
Do
at
you
a
remember
minimum.
which one it was?
Oh, easily. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely Sonny Dykes era, without any doubt. Those things lasted forever, 4 hours guaranteed, and then we had like a 7:30 kickoff or some. I don't even know if they had the 8. Remember that like 8 p.m. Fox slot back. But I mean, I remember like when I was doing the post game wraps and specifically a big game, like I was writing until 3:30 in the morning. I published at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, there was one game I distinctly remember where Andy and I are sitting in the press conference room after the game, and we look over at the clock and it's 12:20, and none of the players or coaches had come out yet.
Dude, I would go home. I would. I've got no shame in my game. They upload those things. I'll look at it in the morning. I'm going home, man.
They upload those things.
They do upload those things. It's actually it's a factual statement. It's actually pretty smart. I don't know.
There are plenty of other Cal beat reporters that will ask all my questions for me. It's certain.
True. It's true. See, Andy, this is why Jesse's smarter than us.
Yeah, I agree. If Trace is listening, Trace is like probably over there, like, damn it, I could have been doing that all along.
Trace is too good. Was too good at the job that he was going to be there regardless. He was too dedicated.
So true.
He was way too dedicated.
Guarantee you, Trace will not read any of my articles just out of shame. He won't do it.
All right, we pivot to Jesse's first point and prediction on the season.
All right. Well, I think. Ooh, there's a siren.
Oh, that's a bad omen.
I live on MLK. There's nothing else to do here. Well, a little more positive than that. I think Cal is going 8-4. I do. I'll say it. I think 8 wins are not out of the question. I think if you look at the schedule, I mean, Davis, UNLV, apparently Notre Dame, Arizona, Washington State. Like that's a winnable first 5 games.
Yeah, before the bye.
There's some good wins in there, and then you get Colorado right after. I mean, you come out of that stretch looking like 4-2. I think you're looking great. I think the only reasonable wins there or losses there are Washington State and Notre Dame, because Washington State is, I think, going to be a lot better than projected. Mm-hmm. Then you go, Washington, Oregon, USC. That's kind of a rough stretch. But, Oregon at home. We won't talk about Washington or USC.
Nope.
Oregon State, Stanford, UCLA to wrap it up. I think you could conceivably see like 8 wins, realistically, minus any Pac-12 darkness shenanigans that unfold.
That's Andy. That falls kind of into your point of when we were doing the season preview a few weeks back.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I have one that is close to it. I think 8 wins is. I mean, there's clearly some people on Right for California that are expecting 8 wins or calling for Wilcox's job, which is hilarious. But I think that there's a reason to have these expectations, and if Brett Johnson doesn't get ruled out for the season, I'm coming into this podcast like super hot. So I had to like pull back on like win projections and stuff like that. But I think ultimately the team will be fine, largely. And I think, Jesse, you're totally right. The early schedule here is not daunting. I mean, yeah, you look at Notre Dame, you're like, okay, maybe you lose that game if you're not living in crazy Andy's head. And, I think Washington State, sure, they might be better than expected, but that's still a game that you should compete into. And the big thing, obviously, is just avoiding the Scott Frost game from Saturday.
Oh, God.
So that's what we have to do. Like, we cannot be the team that loses the toss-ups. We have to win all the toss-ups. And ideally, we would stop relying on toss-ups. That would be nice. But in a world in which, we haven't seen, we're going to be in a world of toss-ups. So you just have to win those. You have to win those games, and I think you'll know if this team can win 8 games after the first 6 very clearly. Versus, I doubt. I think it's going to give you're going to get a clear idea, maybe in the first 5 games, whether or not this team is capable of 8 wins or not. Like, it's not going to be like last year we were still kind of guessing along as the season went along. Like, okay, maybe things turn around and the coin flips come our way and Cal can turn around. I just think that we'll have our answer sooner.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think even you look at the first maybe 3 or 4 games, or maybe 3 games. I think if they don't really handle business against UC-Davis, which I'm writing my UC-Davis preview right now. It's not a bad football team by any stretch of the imagination. UC-Davis went 8-4. They lost to South Dakota State in the playoff, who was in the Final Four for FCS playoffs. They're a good freaking football team. But if you don't handle business against Davis and UNLV and at least put up a fight against Notre Dame, I think the wheels can fall off really, really fast for this team. And I think losing Brett Johnson this close to the season kind of could start that off on a rocky start, or it could these younger guys are going to have to play early and maybe they'll develop early. So it'll be an interesting thing to look at, I think, how those first 3 games go. And if you come out of there 2-1 with a strong showing or a win against Notre Dame, I think you got to look at the season and be like, okay, 8 wins are definitely conceivable here.
Yeah, since we're on that topic, if there's any silver lining with the Brett Johnson news, it's that it came before game week prep, that they weren't prepping for the game, nor did he play game 1, and they know what their rotation's going to look like, and then all of a sudden your star defensive lineman goes down. They're going to have to start. Whenever this injury happened, I think it happened last Thursday. Granted, it's still a rapid turnaround, but they're planning for the Davis game without him, and they'll plan for the season without him. So that's the only silver lining here, is that they have the time to prep for the loss of his talent on that line. So yeah, kind of sucks. But I'll give my first one, and it's a perfect pivot because it has to do with Brett Johnson. I think despite the loss of Brett Johnson, I think Cal finishes in the top 3 of the conference in sacks, tackles for loss, and quarterback hurries.
Okay, that is a prediction.
That out there, but it is a little.
That's
bit
kind of out there. To give you a little bit more of how is it creative blitz schemes? Like
I think.
what's-
So I tweeted this out like when the Brett Johnson news came out. Is like everyone's like, ah, crap, like Brett's done. Like, and I was like, yeah, Brett's a big loss. But I think they've done well to develop the depth at the defensive line and on the outside enough that it can cover for Brett's loss to a certain degree. I don't think there's going to be it's not going to be dark waters. Like it's not that. Like we know what we have behind. We know that there's going to be guys that are able to give us production at the spots. And so that's why I think the scheme has always produced. The talent floor has actually gotten better over the last 3 years. That 2020 class that they brought in is probably going to have to start paying dividends now. And it's, as of what me and Jesse saw over fall camp, it looks like it is starting to pay dividends. So that's where I think that, and I've raved about this front seven, and I've talked to Yogi Roth about this, and he put it up on his 6 storylines for the season or surprises, and he was, yeah. He was
Casual flex.
He was talking about the front seven being underrated, and I honestly think that it still could be a top 7 front or top 3 front seven by season's end. I think that's still valid. So yeah, I think that's why I still believe that's possible. It's maybe a little bit of a stretch without Brett, but not so far out there that it's under a 5% chance.
I think you're actually kind of right there. And as much as I don't want to give you too much credit for a top, because top 3 is kind of it's kind of wild.
It is. It definitely is.
I will say that if I will just interject my next hot take here, because that's how I roll. But I projected that Cal will have its first double-digit sack number for quite some time. I forget the actual exact year, but it's been at least 7. I want to say, if not more. I can go look back, but my prediction is that Ethan Saunders breaks the double-digit sack club this year. I think that man is a man amongst boys. I think he is horrific to block. I think that just watching him in practice every day is genuinely terrifying. That man is very large, very fast, and very strong. So that was my wild one, I think. So there you go.
That one's wild, but it's also not that wild. Just because if you've seen enough of Ethan Saunders, you know that this might be the year that he has an absolute breakout year.
I mean, you and I have seen him, I think, probably just about as much as anyone could over the last however long. And he looked like every bit the part. He looks like, you can say this about everyone going out of their fall camp, but he looks like trimmer. He looks faster. He looks stronger. The dude, he flashed some really good stuff last year. I went back and specifically the Oregon game. I thought he did some really cool stuff. But he's just been eating offensive linemen alive, which is something that I haven't seen in a really long time. So
I've done the research correctly. The last time Cal had a double-digit sack leader. Anyone want to take a stab?
Cam Jordan.
Yeah, Cam Jordan. 2010. 2009.
2009.
I think it's 2009, right?
Zach Follett, 2008.
Oh my goodness. That is the name.
Yeah. 10.5. That's the last one.
Wow.
At least that's according to the Cal football record book.
Yeah, I think that's about what I found. That's a long time to go without a double-digit sack guy. Mm-hmm. I know the college game's a little bit different. It's only 12 games guaranteed versus in NFL you get 17 now.
Yeah.
But since 2000, what was it? 2007? You said 2008. 2008. That's a long time to go without somebody hitting that double-digit mark. So I think not only is Cal due, I think Cam Good actually got 9.5 one year.
Yeah.
I think not only are they due, I think that if someone's going to do it, it's going to be a guy on the interior who's just really going to get after guys. And I think that's Ethan Saunders.
Andy, you were going to say something?
It's just Cam Jordan never got above 6 sacks.
That's insane.
That's wild to think about. And he's
It's actually,
he's one of the best defensive ends in the NFL.
It's wild. He had a pretty good tackles for loss,
Yeah.
but
Sacks are a little bit iffy too. It's kind of it's just because if he got a hand on him, but he throws the ball away as he's falling, he does the Tom Brady, it sucks because you won't award him the sack, but that's basically a sack.
yeah.
So
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
yeah. But all right, well, I guess Jesse did his second one. So Andy, moving on to your second one.
all right. I think I'm just gonna go with the same kind of theme then. I'll go a little bit out of order.
Okay.
I would say that Sermon is going to lead the conference in tackles.
Jackson Sherman is
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. I can see it happening.
Yeah.
I will say that. I think the elder sermon at some point in fall mentioned that this is a linebacker friendly scheme.
Yep.
It kind of funnels everything to those guys. So honestly, that's really initial shock value of that, because it's sermon is oh god, I sure hope not. But the back half of that is he's a really good freaking football player, and also they funnel everything inside. He's got a history of producing, so I mean, why not?
Love that. We need to have Jesse on way more, Rob, because he takes my bold predictions and then just rationalizes them in such a wonderful, easy to digest way. It's hey, that's crazy. Well, wait a second. If this happens and this happens, yeah, I can totally see that happen. It's perfect.
It's the football coach in him, honestly.
Dude, ever the optimist. I talk to 16-year-olds all day. I mean, I just got so much joyful energy.
The drastic change, talking to 16-year-olds and then you talk to 2 30-year-olds. It's just opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. Okay, all right. I got one that kind of has to do with that. This is actually segueing pretty nicely. I think Femi Oladejo, no longer Femi, but I don't want to butcher his first name, so I'm just going to call him Femi. Femi Oladejo registers every single statistical defensive category from the inside linebacker spot.
Wow.
A sack, a tackle for loss, a pass breakup, an interception, and a forced fumble. I mean, tackles are guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, apparently Sermon's getting all of them, so you never know.
So now this comes to a battle between me and Andy. It's like fantasy football. We're gonna be watching the game. We'll be like, who got that fumble? It's Oladejo. It's Oladejo. Who got that tackle? It's Oladejo.
My goodness, that's quite the stat.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? What's the context?
Not a lot.
I'm looking right now.
This is purely like a fantasy football thing. I'm like, I had a draft this past weekend, and then I'm going through another one right now. It's a long-term draft, but I'm like, this would be fun. It'd be fun to have an inside linebacker that literally did everything.
All right, you know who the last one I think to do that was? It was Kunasic in 2018.
All of them?
He got all of them.
That
Solo tackles.
I'm not surprised.
Tackles for loss, sacks, interception, pass defense, and 5 forced fumbles in 1 year.
He was so good. Rob's favorite player.
He's so nice.
It's so ridiculous.
We share a deep love for Berkeley Bulls peanut butter and almond butter.
Oh man, I'm allergic to both those things, Rob. This is a little rude.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that man. If you're listening to this, Jordan, we wish you well this season. All right, that's my second one. Who wants to? Are we going back to Jesse? Are we circling back to Jesse?
Yep.
Oh, jeez. We're just gonna go on it. Jack Plummer, more than 3,300 yards passing this year.
Wow.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna go a little crazy here. I think
3,000. Okay.
So. Chase Garbers last year threw for precisely 2,531 yards over 11 games, which, if you divide that out, is 227 yards a game. That kind of stinks, actually. It's kind of not good. It's not particularly great. That being said, I think that, the whole offense was not particularly youthful. I think we had a basically a young NFL squad out there running around, and I think that there's just so many weapons for Jack Plummer that I think it's not like out of the question that even if like he's operating like let's say he throws every ball exactly where Chase Garbers does, I just think there's more yards there. Like I just think the guys who catch the ball are going to get more yards after the catch than the guys who caught the ball last year. Like I think the best yards after catch guy last year was probably Nico Remigio, and he did a pretty decent job. But he also, I think he only had like 200 something yards receiving. Yeah, he had 238 receiving yards last year on 38 catches. Also not good. So I think you have right away the same position is Maven Anderson, who's gonna put up more yards than that. Like that's just I'm gonna lock that in stone. I'm not even gonna use that as a take. I think we're there. Jeremiah Hunter can get yards after the catch. We've seen them use J. Michael Sturdivant as a yards after catch guy in like RPOs and stuff. I really don't think it's like that out of the question. I think it's like kind of a sticker shock number. But he's been really good. Like he's just been throwing the ball all over the place. So that's my take.
Jesse, was there significance behind the 3,300?
I like the number 3. I really like the number 3. So I was like, you know what? Throw that thing out there.
Let me put this I'll help Jesse put this into context. Where do you think 3,300 yards would put Jack Plummer in terms of single season record passing yards wise?
Probably
in Cal
way
history?
too high. To be honest.
Any guesses?
Top 10.
Any guesses?
Got to be top 10. Right?
Top 10?
8.
Okay, it is in the top 10.
I'm
kind of cheating. I already know who's number 1. I think.
I'm gonna say
Kind of
6.
cheating.
Well, I'll give you this. Number 1 is Jared Goff, and number 2 is Davis.
Okay, higher than 8.
So
higher than 8.
4th.
Close. It puts him at 6.
Is that what Jesse said?
Time.
Money.
Oh, did you say
Come
6
on,
the second time?
man.
I didn't hear you. So that's my bad. That's my bad. So that would put him just below Pat Barnes in 1996, who put up 3,499 yards, but above Ross Bowers in 2017, who had 3,039
So the
yards.
precedent under Justin Wilcox is there, is what I'm hearing. And there are better
the precedent
receivers
is
this
there.
year than there were that year. So,
True.
in this essay, I will argue that Jack Plummer will throw for 270. Also, if you look at it game by game, that's 275 yards a game. I mean, come on, folks. What are we talking about? It's simply not that many yards. It's not unreasonable. At least to me.
It's not. I mean, that's the average. He'll have a game where he has like
Totally.
just over 150, and then he'll have another
Totally.
game
And
where
honestly,
he has like over 300.
I really don't think we're going to see like those games that Garbers had where he's under 200. Like I think that this era of offense, whatever you want to call it under Bill Musgrave, whether you're a fan of his or not, which I happen to be, I just think that the weapons available and the way that they've used them in like the RPO game and things of that nature, I just don't think we're going to see those sub 200 games anymore. I mean, I could be wrong, right? Like against maybe Notre Dame, they might want to control the clock more or something like that. But I don't see it happening. I really don't.
Jesse, is it a system thing or is it a talent thing? Is it both?
I think that Derek Carr threw for a lot of yards with Bill Musgrave. So I think the system is cool. think he threw for a lot of yards and quite a few touchdowns. I think he was an MVP candidate.
that was
So
his
I don't
best
think
year
it's a system thing,
as a
which
pro.
I know like it's really easy to like say something's a system thing when it's not working. But I think if you look at like the historical precedent that Bill Musgrave has, and also if you look at like if you talk to some guys and you like ask about Musgrave, like how much they think that guy is like a genius, I think that like there are certainly fair criticisms, but I think the system is good. Like the system has worked for the last like what 10 years. he's never really been out of a job. So that's my kind of 2 cents on it.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Love that.
Love that.
I'm here for my boy Bill, man.
All right, Andy.
All right, it's my turn. Okay, I
Yes.
have to think about which one I want to do. Okay, I'll do my last one about kind of like in the season, and then I'll do the rest of mine are, well, actually I have two. Okay. Cal's going to beat Arizona by 30 points.
Whoa. That is a number.
Taking it to the streets. It'll be like 45-10.
Holy smokes.
We are
Homecoming weekend against
smashing
Arizona.
Arizona.
Jack
You heard
Plummer,
it here.
500 passing yards.
Yeah, it's over. We are going to be so pissed from last season. There's going to be such a desire to win that forget about it. It's done. 45-10. I don't know. Take your pick. 30-plus points. You can take it to the bank in Vegas, and if it goes haywire, I'm not accountable.
Can I bet that spread?
30 to 60.
Can I get a 35-point spread, please?
I mean, from a narrative perspective, I think that makes total sense. I think that definitely this team that a bunch of these guys that weren't able to go due to the COVID restrictions and play in that game definitely are going to come out and like, we only lost because we didn't have our full squad. Like you guys don't even stand a chance against us if we have our full depth. So I think narrative wise, absolutely, I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of all that stuff, and I think Arizona's, they've pulled off a couple of recruiting miracles, we'll say, and they've got some good players there. I'm going to butcher the first name, but Territorial McMillan, the receiver, yeah, he's a good football player.
Yeah.
And they've got a couple other dudes. But yeah, I think a big win against Arizona is not out of the question, but also it is Arizona. Cal cannot beat Arizona. When I looked at this schedule, I literally looked at it and I was like, good Lord, this should be a win. I cannot, like, I am more comfortable picking a Notre Dame win or like a Cal win over Notre Dame than I am Cal beating Arizona at home. Like, that's just the nature of these things, I think.
That, my friend, is why I'm trying to put that good juju out into the universe and just be like, look, y'all, it's going to be a 30-point win. Don't even worry about it. I know you're thinking, oh, it's Arizona. We always lose, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Just stick with the 30. We're winning by 30.
Oh, what I heard is a 30 points total in that game and triple overtime.
Oh, please no. Please no.
17-13. 17-13 in overtime.
I want. Oh gosh.
That would be the most Garbers. That would be yeah.
I'd be in
That's
so
the previous.
much pain
That's the
in
previous
press
era
box.
for sure.
I would be crying.
The three of us sitting in a row at that game in press row, we would be dying.
I don't think I could write about that.
And if it somehow plays out like we're talking about right now, I'm just gonna look at both of you and I'm just gonna be shaking my head like we did this. It's gonna be the Drake meme, but like a sadder version of it. Look at this. Look at this. None of this was here before we got here. We started this. We created this.
It's gone wrong.
Oh shoot. Oh man. All right. Okay.
It's your turn, my friend.
Whose turn is it? Is it my turn? Oh my goodness. I gotta do number 3? Okay. I'll do a fun one before I do the other. We will see Coach Wilcox smiling in a press conference after the game after Cal wins a marquee win at home.
At home. Oh man.
At home.
Thought you were gonna back up my Notre Dame prediction.
I mean, I'm not sure if we'll see that because we'll probably be on a Zoom thing, but yeah. I think in person we'll get one this year where he's just smiling and happy. He's like, we made some mistakes, but all in all, like we played a great game and we won. Like I'm happy.
Which game is that? Do you think?
Oh, that's the hard one. Like it has to be a marquee game, right?
It's gotta be Stanford, right?
I do think I mean, we did that last year though. Like
He was smiling. He was smiling after that one.
Handled them.
He was smiling after
that one. Yeah. So I'll go on a limb and say it's the Washington game.
Okay. You know what would be especially good is if they just smoke Oregon, but we just get Wilcox on the podium with the biggest grin on his face. I think that would be so.
Oh, that's so
sweet.
meta.
I mean, you want to talk about just a great time in the press conference.
So who's gonna ask the question if that happens? So do you regret not taking the Oregon job?
Don't worry, I'm certain someone will ask that question. Maybe it'll be me.
Rob. No, it needs to be better than that. It needs to be. So, Justin, would you mind sharing your thoughts on marketing campaigns to win over the approval of the Oregon fan base now that you just beat them?
Could you comment on how excited you are to do some media campaigns and talk to some alumni?
Do you feel like the win today contributes to the overall media campaign that Oregon was hoping to
that's my
execute with you as their head coach?
All right, we swing back around to Jesse.
Who's pile it on? That's a good one. I like that one. Okay. This is a not so fun one, but this is a very real. I don't even know if this is really a hot take. I do think that Cal gets turnover regression this year. I don't think the 10 turnovers in 12 games happens again. Sadly.
That was gonna be one of mine.
Take that.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think we're gonna be more loose. We're gonna play a little bit less of the turtle ball and open it up. And with opening it up, you have to be okay with that turnover ratio normalizing a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't even know that that's necessarily, like you said, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that living in a world where you somehow only fumbled twice and threw 8 interceptions is crazy town. Like that is not like a real world scenario. Like unless you have Aaron Rodgers, it just doesn't happen. So I think, me and Rob have already seen in camp, like the quarterbacks who are there, or at least Jack, have been taking some shots, dude. They're not like afraid to take those shots, and like there are some adverse consequences there sometimes. Like guys have been making plays on the ball. That's just what happens. And I think the other like really encouraging thing there has been that like when Plummer does throw a pick in practice, like nothing changes about his demeanor. It's just kind of like, oh, well, that happened. All right, what's the next play? Like, and I think that's something where when you get that someone with that level of confidence and that level of like, okay, I'm first of all, I'm the starter. And second of all, I'm okay taking these shots because I know I'm going to hit more than I miss. I think that's a very different attitude from what maybe Musgrave and Garbers went through last year. I think it's you better not freaking miss, and because we don't have the firepower to make up for that. So I think turnover regression. I do think there's also going to be more fumbles. I don't know how they only fumbled twice. That is insane. One of those being at a particularly bad time. He legit injured himself on that play.
Like,
yeah, it was like
yeah, it was not good.
Like you can't even do anything about that fumble because just like your body is.
It's just nothing to do. Yeah, seriously. So like, again, like not even giving fault here. Like it was a bad time for that to happen and bad outcomes all around. But I think that goes up a little bit. I honestly maybe like 8 to 12 interceptions is depending on how much they really want to open this thing up. I think it's not an unreasonable number. I think it'll be less like silly interceptions, for lack of a better word. Like I don't think we're going to see the really bad ones. I think it'll just be, hey, I took a shot here. I tried to thread the needle and didn't work out. We're going to go get them. So there's my lukewarm take, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like the big thing with the interceptions, what we talked about before is what killed the Wilcox teams of yesteryear was the situational aspect to those interceptions. Mm-hmm. It was you're taking points off of the board type of an interception. But if you're living in a world where you're in your own territory, you're on the 35, and you take a deep shot downfield, maybe try to get a flag, or you try and hit the route, and somebody picks it and they get it on their own 30 or their 35, yeah, take that all day. But it's the ones where we're coming down and you just turn it right back over and pull points off the board that really cost those older teams.
Totally. I think, yeah, totally spot on.
So Jesse, if you have 10 to 12 interceptions, you obviously have to keep that touchdown to interception ratio in the 2 to 3 range. So then let me flip it and ask, how many touchdowns?
I mean, so through, I think, let me get the number for sure. 16 passing touchdowns last year and 8 interceptions. If we're looking just strictly 2 to 1, we're looking at 20, 24. So I think anywhere from 24 to like 28 passing touchdowns, depending on like situational football. Like, okay, if we're on the like 2-yard line, they're probably not going to throw the football. Like, they're probably going to run it. So if these shots are getting us real close and we're just going to finish things in the end zone with the run, I think that obviously changes some of the math there. But I think, anywhere from 21 to 28, which is, I know, a big range, but I think that's kind of like reasonable. I think it's not something crazy. Like, we're not looking for a Bryce Young season. Like, we're not anything like that. I think you're just, you're taking your shots where you get them, and Plummer's shown that he can operate, and I think they're improving in the red zone, so hopefully get a little bit more of that.
Well said. 28 would be pretty lit.
28 would be sweet, dude.
We'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah. 28, you're signing us up for a good time.
Oh, listen, brother. I'll have a good time regardless. I don't know about y'all.
All right, well, speaking of good times.
Meanwhile, Jared Goff Davis went through 37 to 16.
It was a fun and frustrating year that year. Very, very, very complicated. Okay.
Anyways.
Speaking of fun,
okay.
Here is mine. Cal breaks into the top 15 nationally, doesn't win the Pac-12, and doesn't make the title game because we are Cal.
That just makes me so sad. I don't even want to react. Like, that just makes me so sad.
The funnier thing is, last time we broke into the top 15, we lost that ensuing game. So
Yes,
Dude,
we
when
did.
was that?
with Arizona State, like 2 years, 2019.
Oh my gosh, you're
That
so
Friday
right.
night game. Yeah, we were going into it, and we were
I
top
so
15,
remember
and
that
all
game.
of us were like, "This is bad juju. We should not be ranked this high. This is absolutely bad juju." And then yeah,
I think that's such a uniquely like Cal experience. Like, you get ranked high instead of like, oh my god, we're having a great season. Everyone's just like, no, like no,
Yeah.
no. The
and then
wheels
we
are about
lost
to
our
fall
quarterback
off.
for like half the season from that game,
Oh gosh, man. Yeah, jeez Louise.
ultimately resulting in the world famous Cheez It Bowl.
That isn't that long ago. That's crazy.
It
I would have
is.
thought that it was the Jared Goff group that
group?
was ranked that high.
They never really. How high did they get even? They didn't
Right
get,
before
I
that
think the
Utah
highest
game,
was
didn't we get?
going into that Utah game, right?
Yeah, it was like, was it around
I'll look it up.
16?
I'll
Am
look
I
it up.
making that up? I feel like
I'm
making
pretty
that
sure we
up.
were in the top 20. I just don't remember how far.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't. Listen, I think top 15 is taking advantage of what's recreational in California a little bit here. But. Hey, listen, don't want me yuck your yum, but top 15 is crazy. I do think.
We were ranked. The highest we were ranked in that season was 20.
Yeah, that sounds right.
You know what
Okay.
the funnier part is? We were ranked 23rd going into that Utah game, and we lost that game by 6. The following week, we played UCLA, and we actually went up in the rankings.
Love it, dude.
So
That is funny. I remember that actually now. All right.
that's a good one. That's a
good
good
one.
one. All right, whose turn is it?
I believe
Here's
it is your
Bob.
turn.
Is it back to me? Okay. All right. I'll kind of go off of what Andy did. My take: Cal sweeps the quote unquote Pac-12 North matchups. Once again, the Pac-12 divisions no longer exist. The guys who get to go to the championship game are the top 2 conference records. I don't know how the tiebreakers and all that works, but I'm sure we'll figure that out in a couple of months when there's a couple teams with the same record. But yeah, I think we beat. I think we'll complete that sweep. Beat Oregon, beat Stanford, beat Washington State, beat Oregon State.
Wow. I don't know how many thoughts I have on that, but I think it's like it's kind of interesting because you list the games off and they're really like not
Yeah,
they're not crazy down.
yeah. Like as of right now, like how the season plays out is different, right? Like Oregon might look like a juggernaut by the time we play them, but as of right now, like I could rationally like convince someone that that's possible.
Is this someone a Cal graduate or is this like just somebody on the street?
It's one of those hot take guys on ESPN or Fox Sports,
Hell yeah, dude, that's my dream job. Just unrelated.
just firing off hot takes left and right every morning.
Oh my brother, that would be amazing. What a job.
With no consequence.
No consequence.
No consequences. Yep, no consequences. All right, that's
I mean,
mine.
if Rob, if that happens,
Yeah,
what's the end record?
I still think it's like what 8-4.
So
Yeah.
you have UCLA, USC. Who else?
So that's 5, right? That's 5 wins there. We need 3 other wins: Davis, UNLV, and then yeah, we'd probably lose to Arizona. Probably
Beat
lose to
Colorado.
SC. Yeah, we beat Colorado. There it is. So we'll lose to the 2 LA schools
And Arizona and Notre Dame.
and Notre Dame. Yeah.
That is
But
that is such a funny like 4 losses.
Yeah. Because you're examining the 8 wins and you're like, how did we lose those 4 games but win these? But that perfectly fits into the history of Wilcox era football.
You're so right.
How did we lose these games? But how did we win that?
That is very true.
All right.
So, yeah.
I like it. I'm with it.
All right. Next up.
Okay. Is it me, right? It's me.
Yep. I think it is. Yep.
So this is the year, correct me if I'm getting the number wrong, but this is the year that the first to 21 curse breaks.
Oh, wow.
I think this is the big change, I think. So for those who do not know, the first team to score 21 points in a Justin Wilcox at Cal coach game is something like, what is the number, like 40 something and one at this point?
I think the one was broken last year.
Yeah, it's literally like unbelievable. It's a wild statistic, but I think that's like been kind of more like personnel based more than like coaching style based. I think like you look at who's been quarterbacking, it's been Ross Bowers, who's a really good quarterback for a little bit. Chase Garbers, who people have very mixed opinions on, although apparently he's doing well with the Raiders. I don't really watch preseason because I can't. Just can't. Won't do it. And that's kind of been it. You've had two quarterbacks that have really not to say mattered, but like mattered in that time span, and not necessarily a plethora of offensive talent to go around. Excuse me. So I think that, should this defense give up more than 21 points, like let's say to a Notre Dame, Washington State, I think is a team that might put up some points. USC, I think, is an obvious team to put up some points, although I don't know if we'll catch them. UCLA could put up points. I think that these are games now where if we're getting to a point where, let's say, an opposition team puts up 21, I think that this is a team that can actually catch up for once. So I think the greater point is that I don't think we're going to see a Cal team that struggles to catch up when they're down. It might not be the actual 21 rule, but I don't think we're going to see a team that literally has to break their game plan to come back, which is new, I think.
Definitely new.
Yeah, very new, but a fantastic take. And it trends pretty well with everything else you've said, Jesse, and I think it will inevitably be a thing until it's not. It's like, without a doubt, first game, if we, for some reason, go down to Davis, like let's say Davis gets a 21-14 lead, you already know. Them Twitters are coming out. Them tweets be coming fast. But I think that is if that's like the biggest question here is if Cal can like actually if this team can transition in that space, then there's not really a ceiling because your defense is potentially going to be that good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like the biggest, well, I won't say the biggest criticism, but I think one of the criticisms of Wilcox and the staffs that he's had has been that they aren't able to claw back into games when things start to go awry. Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, that's a fair criticism. Like anybody who knows me knows that I like to give like the benefit of the doubt to coaches because boy, oh boy, I sure hope I get that. But I think that's a super fair criticism. I think not being able to claw yourself back into a game is not a good thing. That's a hot take too. But I think that this is a year where they theoretically could like do that. I think there's weapons outside. I think the offensive line is a little bit better than people are dreading. And I think there's a quarterback who can actually handle himself in those situations. There's my take.
I think that's fair.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. pick a flavor. Grab some extra napkins and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Love it. I hope Chase doesn't listen to this podcast.
He's too busy.
He's definitely too busy.
Too busy making NFL rosters.
Yeah, we're small fry.
Yeah, I mean, please don't listen to this.
Yeah, he's probably got better
Don't
time.
let
He probably
us
doesn't
mess
listen
with
to
your
Raiders
head.
podcast.
Can you guys
Agreed.
block him on Twitter when you release this, actually?
Like, these.
Could happen.
Yes. All right. Great. On that note, UC Davis. I kind of queued it up. UC Davis game will be closer than expected. Why? Why? Not because of the play on the field, because it's going to be hot as hell on Saturday.
It's so real, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to be somewhere like 85 degrees, just temp-wise. So
If not
I
hotter,
can
and
only
you're going to tell me
imagine-
that Davis isn't going to be ready for that, given that they practice in... I mean, it sets
Bro.
up so well. It's like one of the funniest things. You would never think, hey, this team... It's like the opposite of the Midwest. It's like, yeah, we practice in 100-degree heat all the time. So we're ready for this. Like, oh my gosh. And then we're out here in the Bay with the fog and in Berkeley. Like, there's just, my goodness. That's going to be, what is game time? Like 1 o'clock?
1 p.m.
It's a 1 o'clock game.
Forget about it. 3
it's gonna
o'clock is going to
stink.
be so hot.
And when the rule with like turf fields is like whatever the temperature is outside, you got to add 10. Like add 10 to 12. So if it's 85 at kickoff, that field's sitting at 95, and it feels every bit of it on your cleats. Because that's a good take. I like that take, actually.
Oh God, that's not. That's
Some Davis grit coming into college. We got some real Davis boys gritting it out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really gritty, hard-nosed football
True
team.
Aggies.
Yeah. Some farm boys. Yeah, I love it.
Oh man.
I'm not scared of the heat. We got a bunch of agricultural economics majors coming in, ready to take that heat on. No disrespect to the Ags.
Yeah. I'm just thankful that we'll probably be in the press box, which means, climate controlled, air conditioned in the shade.
Loving it.
I'm genuinely sorry for the people that have to sit like on the opposite side of the field, like in just the dead heat and the dead sunlight. Like Jesse and I have been out there at fall camp, and there were some days where like it didn't even get to 85, but it was just not a single cloud in sight, not a single like breeze or anything of wind, and it's just blazing sun on the both of us. It was bad.
It was like not
was real
good
bad.
vibes. There were days where I questioned everything. How much
There's
is the
Go
ahead.
excessive heat warning, just so you know.
Yeah,
Oh.
I have an ankle
it's-
tan to show for it.
It's starting Saturday morning is the excessive heat. And
Oh,
it
yeah,
continues
dude.
all the way through Monday.
Yes.
Dude, that rocks, actually. That's so much fun.
It's
I
going to
love
be potentially up
climate
to
change.
110 degrees. It says
Where?
upper 90s to 110, particularly across the interior.
Okay, so like
Oh.
if you go to like Danville or like
No,
Pleasanton,
if you go to where I coach, it's gonna
Yeah.
be,
it's just,
it's gonna be
Probably
110
Jesse.
degrees.
just
Awesome.
cross the tunnel.
Dude, I don't want to talk about it. It was.
Because
I
it
wore
says-
a long sleeve to practice today. I was having a great day. Not anymore.
It says San Leandro's hitting 90 on Saturday. And Berkeley is usually about 3-4 degrees cooler. But
Dude, what if it gets to
Goodness.
90? Happy opening day, guys.
yeah,
Happy
no one's
welcome
gonna
back
go.
to Cal.
That's going to be
Dude,
an
you think
empty stadium.
you think people were going to Cal UC Davis anyway?
Right, and then you throw in this, and like everyone, there may be more people at Strawberry Canyon swimming pool than actually.
Oh man, can we do an over under for that? Can I get a spread?
You see the line that's like snaking down the road, and you're like, "Is this for the football game? No, this is for the swimming pool."
Swimming pool is minus like 500 people. You guys taking those odds? I'm taking them. Hammering them, actually.
That'd be painful. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're coming out to the game on Saturday, I guess this is your warning. Bring lots of water, bring lots of sunscreen,
Pedialyte.
and maybe something like bring your own shade. Like bring like a bucket hat or something, like just to get yourself some shade.
Bring a parasol. Throw it back.
A parasol. I don't.
20s.
Is that are you allowed to? Isn't that considered like a weapon, like going into the stadium?
Put a little like rubber tip on top or something. I don't know. get funky with it.
Do you have a styrofoam parasol?
But it's got to be made of clear plastic. Also,
Yeah, that might melt.
accidentally make.
All right, is it back to me?
Sure is,
Back
bud.
to me. All right, I got two left.
What number are we on?
Which one should I do? All right, I'll do the run game first. I got one for the run game, one for the pass game. So, run game. So, Cal's average yards of push on run last season was about 4.1. I think that average with this offensive line pushes past the 5-yard marker. Get to about 5.3
Before, like, yards of push?
yards of push
Wow.
in the run game.
That is a number.
So basically a full yard extra.
And what drives this line of thought?
I think the guys are more athletic. I think the line definitely is better in the run game than the pass protection. At least that's from what we've seen in fall camp. I think what Matt Cindric said in one of the press conferences really struck a chord with me, where he said, "I'm not thinking as much in regards to the play. I'm doing more. Just like I know what I have to do, and it just like naturally I just do it." So I think that will play a part into, especially in the run game, where you're going to have guys pulling, you're going to have, feet getting mixed up all over the place. But now if he's running through it without having to think through, okay, what's my assignment on this? Which gap do I need to hit? Who do I need to follow behind? Am I pulling here? Am I not? All of that. If all of that is taken care of across the two deep on the O-line, then I think the blocking scheme is just going to run that much smoother. And you're just going to see guys hitting the spots that they need to hit in order to get that push faster. That's where I'm at.
Okay. That's sound logic. I don't hate that. And from what I've kind of generally heard, it sounds like Musgrave has simplified a lot of things this year. Not necessarily made them easier, but he's found a way to kind of translate that a little bit better. So I think that kind of goes in line with everything that we've been saying today, and I think we've been seeing and hearing. So yeah, I like that take. That's a good take.
Thank you. All right, Jesse.
All right. So here's the take. Also on the run game, actually.
Ooh.
I know.
Good segues.
I think that, this is kind of a two-parter. So I think that we see Cal have two backs with over 100 touches again. Last year's Chris Brooks and Damian Moore. And I think we also see a third back who gets 50 touches. I think that is not out of the question. And I think that, or maybe 40-ish. And I think all three of them average over 5 yards a carry.
Shoot.
I think. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I guess if that goes in tandem with mine, that makes sense. Because if we're getting an average of 5 yards of push, then if you can get to even just that line, you're at 5 yards.
Totally.
Even if he falls down at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of mine. And I think I was looking at some of what was going on last year, and I realized that we're losing 104 Chase Garbers carries. And some of that is not, sack adjusted. So maybe even if it's let's say 75 carries from Chase Garbers, a lot of freaking carries. So last year, Chris Brooks had 116 carries. Damian Moore had 100 even. Chase Garbers is written down as 104. And the next guy after that was Marcel Dancy with 26 carries. So I think if you just take, 25 of Chase Garbers 104 and you redistribute them, because, from what we've seen from Plummer, he's going to get out of the pocket a little bit, but he's not a 104 carries guy. Like that's just not who he is, which is fine. I think that actually helps the offense a little bit in some different ways. But I think a guy like DeCarlos Brooks could definitely pick up a ton of carries this year. He only had 10 a year ago, and I know Rob is going to be super happy to hear that name.
Yes.
But I think
Receipts.
Jaden Ott and I think Damian Moore. I've been kind of writing about this a little bit. I think they're basically cemented as the 1-2 punch. I wouldn't be shocked to see those guys get pretty equal reps as the season progresses. And we've seen a lot of DeCarlos Brooks. Like we've seen a lot of him doing some really cool stuff. Another name that got a lot of run last year is Chris Street, although he may be a little limited going into this week. So we'll see how it all kind of rolls out here. But I think that is not an entirely unreasonable mark for those guys to hit. I think especially given what you just said about the offensive line getting a ton of push. I mean, even if they get the push last
definitely
year,
the athleticism
I
and the
think it all
talent
just
floor
translates really well.
risen like in all the skill positions on the offense.
Totally.
And is that something that comes from how much does Rob's point about the O-line play into this to the success of this group, or do you think the talent level like you're talking about is just higher, so even if the O-line play doesn't go to that level, that this is still achievable?
Well, I mean, I think when you talk about touches, at least, we're looking at 50, 100, 100. That's 250 rushing attempts right there. You have to have some confidence in the offensive line in order to put the ball on the ground that much. Because it's just speaking very from a lot of experience here. If you have an offensive line that you're maybe not super comfortable in, you're throwing clicks a ton because those are basically making up for your run game. It's a little less consistent, but there's a little bit of a higher chance of explosive there, so you kind of take that trade-off, which is, I think, what we saw in the Sonny Dykes era a lot. Is like, hey, if I'm not super confident in this offensive line, I'm going to hit a lot of clicks. I'm in similar things with Mike Leach. So I think, naturally you have to have a lot of faith in that offensive line. I think if what Rob says about them improving and being more athletic, which I agree about, is true, then I think naturally more touches come for those guys. And I think also we get more touches, and I think we're going to get more passing attempts because I think this offense is just going to be a little more high powered and go a little faster than they have in years past. I don't think it's going to oscillate between, slow it down and tempo as much. I think we're just going to live at a faster pace.
Yeah, I think from my end, like I think in terms of the run game, there needs to be a balanced stroke, right? You need to have the balance between you can't have an offensive line that gets you this much push and not have any running backs that are able to do anything with it. On the flip side, you don't want to have a running back that can do everything and is electric, but an offensive line that can't even get you 2 yards of push. Like, you can't ask him to do everything on their own. It's never 50-50. I personally, if I'm going rationally, I would go like 65-35 in favor of having a more push-heavy offensive line. If it was me, like, talking about Madden, I want the stats in my running back. But so that's kind of, for me, that's where it is. Like, it'll never be a 50-50, nor will it skew to one side. I think maybe in a few years past, it was heavily skewed to one side, and we were asking our running backs to do a lot because our offensive line wasn't getting pushed, or our running backs just wasn't able to burst into that second level because they weren't reading the holes right, or they were trying to do too much. But I think the group right now has like that perfect mix. Like, we have the speed, we have the vision, we have the agility, like we have the one cuts, and then the explosiveness just into the second level. So, yeah, all in all, I think my point about the offensive line and Jesse's point about the running backs is probably the most rational and most realistic hot takes we've said tonight. Like, the ones that it, like, has the realest possibility of happening.
Easily.
Explains why I've been so quiet. I need to live in the world of well, let me just segue right into that. Okay, final take.
Okay.
Wait, am I going out of order? I am. But final take. No, I'm not.
No,
I'm in order.
That's the last one. Yeah.
Okay. This is a crazy one. All right. How should I set this one up? I'm going to start with the end. Wilcox is going to take an NFL job.
Oh,
Wow.
holy
And
smokes.
then let me walk you back. Okay. So D'Amico Ryans is going to get a head coaching role. This is how I'm justifying this. D'Amico Ryans is going to get the head coaching job somewhere at the end of this offseason with the Niners defense being incredible. Then Kyle Shanahan is going to come to Cal a la Steve Mariucci, and he's going to hire Justin Wilcox as his defensive coordinator.
Great.
Wow.
If this happens, I'm retiring, Rob. This is the prediction of all predictions.
This is Mooch part 2.
I will say, I don't know what job it will be. It can be, it could be that scenario I just laid out. But I think if given the chance to have a coordinator or plus role in the league, he may consider it.
That is interesting. That's not a lot of words on that take. But I think I'm processing. I think I'm a little bit.
I mean, if it's us, right? Like, you get the opportunity to be the defensive coordinator of the team that your dad is a Hall of Famer for, and your dad played defense for that team. Oh, that'd be hard to say no to.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
It's like
I think it matters a lot when you think about, like, ultimately where a lot of people will say that would never happen is because I think Wilcox is a great head coach. I don't know if he would give up on being a head coach, but part of me wonders, we're out of this era of like 3-4 years for him. So we're now, you start to get to that point where, okay, 5-6 years. That's where I feel like your head can kind of be like, well, I've been doing this for a little while. Do I want to switch? Do I want to shake things up? Do I want to press into a different type of scenario, a different type of challenge? It would be something I'd be quite curious about. I don't think it's a reason that it's a hot take is I personally don't think that I'd see him making that jump. But if all of those stars aligned, like you're saying, Rob, and like you talk about that scenario and potentially a Super Bowl like caliber team in the sense that they've been competing at that level for the last few years, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a rebuild, that's for sure, right? That's the first thing for him. You're going into a very good situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's on the table, I guess. If someone throws a bag of money at him and it's like, hey, you don't have to do recruiting anymore, and also you don't have to answer any more questions about the city of Berkeley public health policy, I think he has to consider it. I think those two things alone bring him to the table.
Yeah, I guess you'll have people say, like, why would you go from a head coaching job to a coordinator? Like, dude, we hired Bo Baldwin from Eastern Washington as a head coach as an offensive coordinator. Like,
it definitely happens.
It happens.
Oh,
it's definitely
totally.
going to happen. So, I mean, that's a hot take, but that would mean that his stock's not that high right now as a head coach. I don't think even 8 wins would put him on that map. I think you got to get him to like 9 or 10 wins, and the defense is like outstanding, like Utah level good.
I don't know, because this is maybe not the best example, but Cliff Kingsbury did not exactly
True.
set the world on fire at Texas Tech, and he got a job. Now, part of that was they knew they wanted Kyler, and they wanted somebody who theoretically would match that skill set. But I think you can make an argument that Justin Wilcox is like, not to say doing more with less at Cal, but I mean, the reality of the situation is given where Cal recruits and how Cal recruits and the standards and expectations they have there. I mean, strictly based on the stars, he is doing more with less. So I think it's an interesting take. I think if he has like, again, a good year where people just outside of maybe the Cal market and outside of the expectations that Cal fans have, see what's going on down here, and they think, hey, that guy can really coach a defense. Like, I think I want that guy on my staff. I can see it happening. And it would be less media if he's a defensive coordinator. So I think right away you're selling that guy. Interesting.
I don't get why Andy would put that into the ethos, but
Oh yeah, I don't even. That is the absolute last thing I think I could ever want.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to happen.
Listen, you listen to some people talk, and it might be the best thing to ever happen. So
it's true. Some people are definitely off the Wilcox train right now.
it makes no sense, but that's life.
Though to be fair, like if he goes like 9 wins this year, and then he leaves, like are they happy or are they sad?
They're
They'll be sad.
They're absent from posting on the internet for about 3 weeks before they start complaining about something else.
Yeah.
Is what that is.
Well, they'll be complaining about who we hire next.
Yeah, before they even coach a game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Looking
I
forward to
love the
reading it.
internet.
Do you?
See, this is
Makes one of us.
No Twitter life is just right. Don't. I mean, talk about removing one of the most negative sources of. Oh my goodness,
Coach Wilcox got it right not having social media. I'll be honest.
It's true. He does have it right. But some of us need it for just duties.
Fortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy. I interrupted you.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm off my soapbox.
All right, my last one. My last one is, it's not that hot, but I think the tight ends will account for 8 passing touchdowns this season.
All right, who leads?
That's a very good question. I'm inclined to say Kalecki, just because he is the best pass catcher, but I could easily see like a Terry 3, Kalecki 3, and then like 1 for Elijah Maharo, and then like another one for Jack Endries or one of the other
How
ones.
stacked is Jermaine Terry right now? I need to know for my high
Brother.
goals.
Listen, that man is built like a brick house made of something. That man is so large and so strong and so.
Like, imagine
huge.
if someone was the size of like I'm just gonna compare it to a car, right? Like he was the size of like a Challenger, like just a pure American muscle, right? And then he decides to lose his bad weight, and then transforms himself into a Shelby Cobra. Like, it's like, did we lose anything, or did we? I can't tell if we lost something or if we gained something, but I don't know. But it looks nice.
Dude,
Okay, so let me just say, for those of us that are having a hard time comparing a person to a car, I would like to just throw out another example and say, how does he rate on the Vernon Davis scale?
Ooh,
Well, that's a good question.
he looks like slightly more muscular, like Shannon Sharp is what he looks like.
Yeah.
Because that dude was pretty ripped. Like,
Yep.
but Terry's like large. Like this is terrible radio. But if you just saw my face when I said that, you would understand like how
Large.
this man is. Like he is in charge. Like that is think about like how big Myles Garrett is, and like how he wears like the like loose long sleeves, but they look like they're like compression sleeves. It's like we're looking at the same deal. Like that dude is huge. Like he's massive.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he's wearing like loose shorts when it's like those days that they don't wear the pads, but it looks like he's wearing compression shorts.
Skin tight. Just massive human being.
But I will say, like to Andy's point, the body transformation that I'm slightly more impressed with is actually Kalecki.
Yes, agreed.
I think his change. He was just skinny and a very good pass catcher last year. He's actually filled out his frame a little pretty nicely. Like he's not fully there yet. It's probably another offseason before he's fully there in terms of college ball. But he's definitely moved from like step 1 into like at least step 2.5 out of like a 5-step process.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Like the dude, he looks great.
Yeah.
I think like I said earlier, like that's kind of the narrative that everyone gets during going. going to like fall camp or whatever is that
Mm-hmm.
everyone looks great, like best shape of their lives, but like no, like this like strength and conditioning staff, whatever they did in the off season is insane. And I've talked to a couple of guys that I know who were like part of the program or formerly part of the program, and they're like it's like a complete 180-degree turn from whatever they were doing before. Like guys go in, they have very specific work plans that work for them. I mean, the guys come out looking just unbelievable. So
Wow.
I think Kalecki's a great example of a guy who went into a weight program that tailored for him, and he came out looking unbelievable. I think another year in there, he comes out bigger, stronger, faster. It's going to be a very scary situation.
How long is Brian Johnson? Is this his second year?
This is his second year, I
because
believe.
because Tory left with to go to Texas with when Sark became the head coach at Texas,
Yes.
Right.
and this is year 2, right? So yeah.
Yeah. We haven't heard any inspirational speeches from Brian Johnson yet. I'm sure they're
Not
out
yet.
there. But the weight room transformation is good enough, I would say. I think it more than speaks for itself.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a complete. Just everyone looks just different. They look like high level, unbelievable athletes, which they are.
Wow. So how important will I mean, are we going to see the tight end position just a totally different utilization than what we've seen in the past, or is it just sort of an evolution?
I'd say effective or more effective would be my word choice.
Yeah,
I think if Jesse could probably put his own words to it. But that would be my word choice for it.
yeah. I think I'm on the same page there. I don't think we're going to see a change. I mean, they've used Jermaine Terry in some interesting ways. Like they've kind of used him on some like orbit motions and used him as one of those RPO guys, which I think is new. I think that's interesting. Um, and Latu they split out a ton, but I think it's generally kind of going to be similar packages to what we've seen. I think we'll see less of those 3 tight end sets, and more the receivers on the field, because I just think there's better receivers than there have been. But I think the utilization is going to be more effective, as Rob said. I think it's a perfect word for it.
I mean, like you look at Latu alone, and it's like there's times where they'll have a 2 tight end set, and they'll have both Terry or Moharo with Latu lined up in like attached, and then they'll motion Latu outside. And from a defensive standpoint, like who the hell goes out to cover a 6'6" tight end who has like Jimmy Graham type catch radius?
Yeah,
Like corners are too small. Linebackers, you're going to leave the middle wide open to something else. So like,
they also can't cover him.
You can't. So that's why the versatility becomes more effective, because now he has the body to be able to do both. It's not a tell when he's on the field of like, oh, they're just using him to try and throw like an out or like a fade to him so you can high point it. Like, no, he's in the run blocking game. He'll chip guys. He'll go out. He'll catch passes over the middle. He'll run corner routes. Like he'll go out wide. And the same thing with Terry. Like what Jesse was saying was that they use him in so many different ways. That's like, if you have him running out on a motion and you snap the ball and then they throw a quick to him, like who's coming downhill to tackle that guy? Like he probably has 1 yard of like actual burst on you, and he's running through you. You're probably running downhill for like 15 yards, like trying to tackle him. He has 1 yard to get acceleration, and he's already blown through you.
I mean, you want to talk about like you need to bring all of your hard hats to work. You better bring them. Like he's going to require 2 people to bring him down most of the time. Like that's just kind of the deal. Especially if he gets out on the perimeter where he's looking at corners and safeties. It's just a bad day. Like it's not a fun target to bring down.
If there was a Shaqtin' the Fool of college football, I can guarantee you the guys on the opposite end of the Jermaine Terry highlight reels would be on those.
100%. All right.
I think that's it. Anyone have any other last minute takes or anything else? Thoughts?
I would like to say that for the record, for all of my rivals and Right for California fans, and I am very pro Wilcox. I think this needs to be said. I think, in case it has not been made very clear, I think that it is good to be pro Wilcox. He is a good football coach. Please stop insinuating elsewhere.
As he leaves the podium. Thank you.
Ah!
He just gets up like
Love
LeBron,
it.
gets a suitcase, and just walks off stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the negative turn that it took last season was pretty wild to watch. And I think that I think there's a tendency right now to want to be first on things. And I think I said this last year.
I told you so.
And there's a tendency to want to be the first person that said, "See,
Yeah.
I called it." I mean, like, what is this podcast? Right? We're doing hot takes, right? It's like I'm the first one to say like who's going to go to an NFL job. I mean, I did it right there. It's a perfect example of that. So there's a tendency to want to say first on things, and so when things start to go south, you can be like, yeah, like I knew it, and instead it's like you have to listen to what people are around the program. What is so consistent is anyone that gets close and around this program and gets around Wilcox is a huge fan and supporter of that man. And I think it's important to understand that, and that it's not just a media thing. It's not, it's and there's also a perfect contradiction to that, which is like Rob and I did not feel that same way about Sonny. We felt that Sonny was a nice guy, but we didn't walk away as impressed with his coaching acumen. And I think it's important to just highlight that. So Jesse, like, appreciate you saying that, because I don't think a lot of people do. And you're right. I mean, there's just a lot of negativity in this world, and maybe sometimes it's worth it to just like throw out some positivity, even if it's as ridiculous as Cal like being ranked in the top 15.
We're just here to have
Very
fun.
well said, Andy.
All in all, this is all for fun. We're all in here for fun. There's no reason for us to be like getting so upset and emotional about it. So
Exactly.
that's what we're here for. We're here for entertainment. That is what we try to provide, and that is what the student athletes also provide for us on the field. But
Shout out to them.
shout out to them. Once again, game 1 this coming Saturday, September 3rd, 1 p.m. in the dead heat of like 95.
Let's go.
In Berkeley. We'll all be there. We'll all be having fun. But in the meantime, if you want to read up about the team, we have all our written stuff up at rightforcalifornia.com. There's a bunch of previews. Christopher H's preview on UC-Davis' offense and defense will be dropping later this week. Jesse's previews also on Cal Rivals will be dropping at some point this week too, along with some of his other preview writing on the team. So you can go and find out and read all about that over at cal.rivals.com. And that is it for us. Once again, you can find us at Golden Bearcast on Twitter. You can email us at goldenbearcast@gmail.com. And with that, I sign off. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.